You know, what's more valuable than a great idea? Mastering the rules. Today, we're going to break down how one company built an absolutely unbeatable business, not by inventing something totally new, but by understanding a complex local market better than anyone else.
Okay, let me ask you something right off the bat. Could you, right now, pay an entire year's rent in one single go? For millions of people, this wasn't just some hypothetical question, it was the reality that shaped their entire lives.
And we're not talking about some rare occurrence here. For decades, this was just the standard, the default system. And a single rule like that can shape an entire rental market, creating this huge point of friction that affects everything from your personal finances to your career.
All right, let's dig into that. What did this annual rent rule actually do to the market? I mean, this wasn't just some minor inconvenience. It created fundamental problems for how people lived and worked.
So when you have to pay a full year up front, it causes some pretty obvious problems. First off, it just crushes your liquidity, right? Especially if you're a young professional just starting out. Then it slows down the whole market. I mean, who's going to move if it means dropping another massive lump sum? And finally, it just kills your flexibility. What if your family gets bigger or your job changes? You're basically stuck.
Now, this kind of high-friction environment, well, it was the perfect opening for a startup called Rize. They looked at this massive national problem and didn't see a barrier. Nope, they saw the exact opportunity they were looking for.
And what's so interesting here is how clearly you can see the core conflict that Rize had to solve. On one side, you've got tenants who desperately need flexible, monthly payments to manage their cash flow. But on the other, you've got landlords who want that full annual payment up front for security and simplicity. These two needs are just completely at odds with each other. And this is where their solution is just so elegant. Rize basically stepped into the middle and became the bridge. Tenants get to pay in those manageable monthly chunks they need, while landlords still get their full annual rent up front. Rize just sits in the middle and solves the core problem for literally everyone. It's such a key business lesson. The most powerful solutions often fix a fundamental tension between two sides of a market.
But, they didn't just stop there. They realized, hey, if we're already managing the core rental relationship, why not bundle in other services? So, by integrating things like maintenance, help with moving, and even insurance, they made the whole process of getting into a new home way smoother and a lot less of a headache.
Okay, so the payment model is super clever, but that's not the real secret to their success, not by a long shot. The company's true defensible advantage, its moat, is something much deeper and way, way harder for any competitor to copy. And it's all about mastering the rules.
So, to really get Rize's advantage, you have to understand something called Ejar. And this isn't just some third-party software. Think of it as the official government system. It's the digital backbone of the entire Saudi rental market. Every single legitimate rental contract is managed and validated through this one platform.
So Rize built its defensible moat on these three key pillars. They didn't try to go around the system. They built their entire business to work perfectly within it. Let's break down why each of these is so incredibly important.
So that first step was absolutely crucial, plugging directly into the government's own framework. By registering every single contract in Ejar, Rize wasn't seen as some outside disruptor. No, they were part of the official process. And that builds immediate trust and legitimacy right out of the gate. Next up, their entire financial model was carefully built to be fully Sharia-compliant. Now, in this part of the world, that's not just a nice-to-have feature. It's a baseline requirement. It's what you need to build consumer trust and get financial partners on board. It just removes this huge layer of uncertainty for everyone involved.
Okay, so how does all this deep, local knowledge turn into a global advantage? Because mastering a complex market isn't just about winning at home. It's about creating a blueprint you can use to expand, well, everywhere else. I mean, think about it. Companies that manage to succeed in these super high-friction, heavily regulated places, they develop a very specific set of skills. They learn how to navigate bureaucracy, how to nail compliance, and how to build products that work within really strict rules. That kind of expertise is incredibly valuable, and you can take it anywhere. Yeah, this really lays out the whole strategy perfectly. Saudi Arabia was the testing ground, the practical lab. The regulatory know-how they gained there became their secret weapon. It's basically a form of intellectual property. And now? They're perfectly set up to enter other complex, high-friction markets across the globe. So what's the big takeaway from the Rize story? If you're an entrepreneur or a business leader watching this, what's the lesson? Where does a true, lasting competitive advantage actually come from? This quote just gets right to the heart of the matter. Building the app, the software interface, that's the easy part. The real barrier, the thing that's almost impossible for someone else to copy, is the deep operational and legal understanding that makes the whole thing work behind the scenes.
And that really brings us to the final question for you to think about. That real, uncopyable advantage. It's rarely found in the shiny, visible parts of a business. It's almost always hidden in the messy, complex, behind-the-scenes details that competitors just don't want to touch. And that is the kind of advantage that no one can ever copy.